Fight and talk back again. And today I'm delighted to be joined by now PFL Featherweight Ben Ellis ahead of his bout against Nate Kelly this coming Saturday on part of the PFL's sort of first show in Wales. Ben, how are things, man?
Yeah, all good. Thank you, mate. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no worries. So I guess that's where to start. I mean, your whole pro career so far has been with Cage Warriors, a few fights amateur. I know it came out, what was it, maybe a couple of weeks ago now, that you signed with PFL. How's that whole thing came about?
Yeah, to be honest, it was kind of just perfect timing. My Cage Warriors contract expired. They'd said that they wanted to re-sign me, but obviously at that point I was allowed to see what else was going on. So I just asked a couple of questions. PFL came back, and yeah, that was literally all there was to it. The offer they made, you can't really turn it down. You'd be off your head to do it. So yeah, I notified Cage Warriors, let them know. I mean, they've been good to me in all fairness. I've never really had too much to deal with Graham, but dealt with Ian, who's always been nice enough. So yeah, got that sorted, and yeah, fun times now with PFL.
So with that then, I guess, how do you look back on your Cage Warriors journey? I mean, you had some great fights on there, both pro and amateur. I'm guessing you reflect quite fondly on it.
Yeah, it's a weird one with Cage Warriors, isn't it? Like, I don't think there's any denying the standard, like particularly at featherweight. Think like, say, just to reel a couple of names off the top of my head, like you obviously got Vichene, Hughes, like both of them are clearly UFC standard. Like Amiable is right up there as well. Tobias, even though he just lost, I'm having a name blank now, as you do whenever you try and name names in an interview. But like say, the standard is really good. So to be honest, I was really looking forward to testing myself with a lot of them. Like obviously, I think I fought Crawford, Akpan, and Bagley would be like by far the three biggest names I fought. I think all three of them have proven that they're a very high level as well. So I was dead keen to push on for the next one. But then it's the million side of pro sport where your contract does matter. So like I say, I'm lucky where my day job as account management, it is somewhat involved in negotiating contracts. So yeah, I read it, and when I made the call just to see what was out there, it was more of a curiosity thing than anything. Like my mindset was, yeah, I'll see what's going on, probably re-sign, but whatever. And then yeah, when the offers came back, like you said, there's not a person alive who wouldn't have selected PFL. So yeah, bittersweet. Get to push on, try out their roster, see what's going on over there. Obviously, the money's a lot better. But then a little bit sad because I was keen to test myself in Cage Warriors against some of those guys, and I wanted the Akpan rematch as well. Funny enough, my missus said to me last night, she was like, "Oh, what would have happened if you had the PFL offer, but they'd said, look, if you stay, we'll give you Akpan next." And I was like, "Fuck, that would be a question."
As we look, then you are now a PFL fighter moving forward. I've tried to get my head around this. I know it's relatively new news anyway. Maybe you can help shed some light on it. So as I understand it, this bout with Nate Kelly is for then the opportunity to fight in the European tournament.
Yeah.
But you're on a multi-fight deal anyway, so irrespective of the result, you'll still be a PFL fighter moving forward?
That's the way it seems. I mean, there's no secret with like fighter contracts that they can cut you whenever they want. So yeah, if I went in and lost, I don't know what would happen. But yeah, that's what happens anyway. When I beat Nate Kelly, I'll be in the European tournament. I know that the winner of the European tournament is automatically in their normal tournament. I'm not sure about the prize, but I think there is a prize, but I don't think it's £1 million. So yeah, to be honest, I haven't looked at it in too much detail. It's like, if you fight and you win, good things will happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, beat Nate Kelly, and then yeah, it'll all be fun and games from there.
Well, if we do look at this fight coming up, Nate Kelly coming in off the back of arguably the biggest win in his career in that Centurion, like the guy was 8-1, I believe he beat. He's 5-2, he's coming into this, he's fought on the big stages before, the likes of Bellator. What do you make of Nate as an opponent?
So if I'm honest, I think he's all right. He's all right. He's not amazing. He's not bad. like he trains at SPG, and all those boys kind of get like the promotional push. So like they say the odd thing, trying to big themselves up. But like, if we're gonna call a spade, I don't really want it to seem like trash talking. So I'm just saying facts. Like you said, the biggest win of his career against that guy who's 8-1. Look at the 8. Like the 8 aren't that good. And then you go through the record, and it's that kind of theme. But like I say, at the same time, he's obviously not bad. It's not going to be an easy fight, but I think I'm going to fuck him up, if I'm honest.
Back in front of a Welsh crowd as well. I mean, that must be nice for you, isn't it?
Big time. Yeah. It like I say, London's not that far. London's like 3 hours. But I'm going to have a lot of support there for sure. It's so convenient. The motor point's like probably 25, 30 minutes from the house. So I can go back and forth pretty much as I want. And yeah, say the motor point as well, like everyone who's coming to watch, it's literally right in town. You step outside the motor point, 30, 40 meters, you're in Cardiff city centre. So it's convenient for them as well. So yeah, it's going to be a good night.
In terms of size of stadium and capacity, will the motor point be the biggest you fought in sort of up until this point?
Funny enough, we were talking about this the other day, because I think the Viola Arena in Cardiff is listed as 3,000, but I think that's 3,000 for the ice hockey. Right. So when they fill up the ground level, because obviously they only need space for the cage rather than the whole thing, I imagine that's probably around about 5,000 as well. So yeah, either the biggest or joint biggest.
How are the nerves then going into that? I mean, it's been a while since you fought in Wales. Obviously, you're going to have a lot of support there. We see it at events. Even if people aren't there to support you, the second they hear Welsh fighter, they're going to be backing you. How are the nerves going into that?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't really get nervous. It's one of them, like everyone always says, if you say you don't get nervous, you're lying. Like, I'm sure I'll be nervous, I don't know, 30 minutes before the fight, but like no one's making me do this. If I didn't want to, I could literally just say, yeah, sorry, I can't fight. Say you can't give a medical reason you don't have to fight. No one's forcing me to do anything. I'm doing it because I want to do it. So yeah, I'm not really nervous. I'm just looking forward.
If we look at PFL then as a promotion, like we say, this Nate Kelly fight, you need to win this to ultimately get into that tournament. But the tournament format, I mean, it's something totally new for the European scene. Of course, America, we've got like guys like Stevie Ray flying across for it. And I've spoken to him about this. I was just curious to get your take on the scoring system and the way that works and how that potentially changes the way that you'd fight in a competition style format, of course, with it being a point system.
I try and pretend it doesn't exist. Like, I thought about this the other day. I was like, as soon as you start thinking about like the bigger picture, for want of a better term, you shoot yourself in the fight. I think the only time I've ever done that, and again, not to make any excuses, the only time I've ever done that is when I fought Akpan. I remember like literally right outside the cage, I looked at Lulong, my head coach, I smiled at him, and I was like, yeah, 4-0, like I'm gonna win. And then at 4-0 in Cage Warriors, you start to get pushed towards like the title shot, probably getting it around 6-0. It's the only time I've ever thought about it. So yeah, say you can make a mistake once in it, but if you don't learn, you're a fucking idiot. So I'm just saying, ignore that, fight your fight, try and finish him. If you do, great. If it's round 1, great. If it's 2 or 3, whatever. And then yeah, the points will take care of themselves. But I'm just focusing on the fight as a whole.
I mean, if we go back to that last fight that you had there against Nick Bagley, I think it was around March time anyway. Absolute war, absolute slogfest. It was. The pair of years left there, bloody bruised. And I was talking to you sort of straight after it. Like, from that fight to now, how much progression do you think you've made in that last 5 months? And just a quick word as well on that fight.
Yeah, so going into that fight, there was no two ways about it. Like, very respectful of Nick and his skills. It was like, you know, it's like everyone and their dog asks you what you think of the other guy. I was like, it's really annoying. He's really fucking good. Like, I wish they'd give me somebody shit. I can't remember I think his fight before me was Scott Pedersen, where like, obviously he had a really dominant, quick win. And he was on a bit of a tear. So yeah, going into it, I knew it wasn't going to be easy. But how the fight went is pretty much exactly what the plan was. Just meet him head on. He's going to try and wrestle at some point, stop takedowns. I know he got me down once, but I was up really quickly. And then just force him into like that type of fight, because he's very explosive. So yeah, take that off him, and then when he's tired, just pour it on him. So to be honest, pretty much exactly how we wanted it to go. The only difference being is we were obviously looking for a late finish, which, to be fair, I think was very, very close. It's just, yeah, like you say, not to blame the ref at all, but the ref brought the doctor in to look at the cuts with like a minute to go. And I was like, oh, and then I could hear Brad Pickett in his corner just saying, oh, mate, you got a minute. You need to finish him. Just swing. And it was like, oh, he's having this rest. Whereas if he didn't have it, but then to be fair, even with that aside, I rocked him twice in that last minute after that. So yeah, it was close, but I didn't get it. And I can't remember what the rest of the question was, sorry.
So just the progression as well in the last 5 months that you sort of made. I mean, you want to look on your social media, we can see that you're always in the gym training with such high level guys.
Yeah, to be honest, it's like I try and like strip it really like back to like the core like basics of MMA. So like, what is it? It's kickboxing with takedowns. Obviously, you've got clinch with wrestling and strikes. Then you've got the wrestling exchanges when you're actually into the takedown, and then you've got wall wrestling with strikes, and that's all it is. Like obviously, there's a lot to it in those areas, but like if I'm not progressing in each of those areas all the time, in my mind, I'm going backwards. I don't really train anything other than MMA. Like if we're doing something non-MMA specific, I will do it. Like obviously, because you need to know everything, and you won't know how something can be applied until either you do it or you see somebody else do it. So I'm always trying to amass my knowledge, but always with the mindset of MMA. Like I say, I don't even know how many sessions I do a week, but let's just say it's 25. Like 25 of them would be MMA. So yeah, the progression is pretty much, well, say the only reason I think I progress so quickly is because it's like that. Then when I see people go to, say, a kickboxing gym, and then they're in a wrestling gym, and then they're in a different gym, it's like, I don't know. The only other guy I've really heard talk like this is Alex Volkanovski. Like, I think he started his amateur career at 22. Like, he did a handful of wrestling tournaments as a kid, like a 12-year-old kid. And then I think at 32, he's world champion featherweight. So it's like, if he can do that in 10 years, training this way, I don't think it's any. I don't even know where my amateur MMA debut was, but in that amount of time, my progression has been through the roof. I don't really think there's any denying that. I had done a lot of boxing before it as well, so I had a bit of a head start. But yeah, I'm saying my intention is to get better month to month, literally until I stop fighting.
So then, if we do look forward and look a bit the bigger picture, if you like, at PFL as promotion, I mean, you've touched on it there. People can take from that what they like about why you may have edged to go with PFL, possibly your contract situation, possibly a finance situation. That, I mean, you know, it's well documented. Cage Warriors pay to PFL's all out there as well. What other reasons was that for you going with PFL?
Right. So, like, I spend a lot of time in the car because I'm driving wherever I can to train with like good people. So obviously, when you're in the car, you're either having a individual DJ performance or you're thinking. So I was coming back from Northampton, been training with Jordan Vucenic. He's 9-1 at the minute. And obviously everybody knows he's being rebooked to fight Paul Hughes. So I'm like, right, he's 9-1. He's got a really big following. He's defended his belt. And he's not getting signed. So I'm like, okay, you're 4-1. If you sign a 5-fight deal, you win all 5 fights, you win the belt, a load of people come to watch you, you might not get signed. So you're like, oh, okay, that narrative of you'll be in. It definitely was the case in the past, but I don't necessarily think it's 100% the case now. Like, I haven't given it a huge amount of thought, but the other 2 examples that sprung to mind was Jack Cartwright. He's 10-0. He defended his belt. I have no idea about his following, if I'm honest, off the top of my head, but he's not in. He's got to fight on Contender Series to get in. Jake Hadley had to fight on Contender Series to get in. Don Wooden is not in at all. So it's like you're there and you're thinking to yourself, all right, if you're weighing up the pros and cons, and say, that's just the way I think. Like, if there's any situation, I'm going to say, right, this is the topic. To the left, cons. To the right, pros. What are we saying? Don't necessarily think that UFC path being under Cage Warriors was a fair pro. Especially when, like, say, you can look at plenty of other promotions whose champions are getting signed. And I don't necessarily think that's disrespectful to say. It is literally just a fact.
On that then, has the goal changed in terms of career progression and ultimately where you want to end up?
To be honest, I don't really think about my own career too much because I work full time. I've never really thought about it. The only thing I ever thought about and think about is my skill level. It's like, right, where are you weak? Where are you strong? If someone's going to beat you, how are they going to do it? Like when I was signed to Cage Warriors, it was just clear. It was like, well, you fight who they tell you to fight. Try and win the belt. If you win the belt, you may or may not be signed and you're in the UFC. Like, okay, no worries. But then when my contract expired, because it's another one as well, isn't it? Where if say you do that, say you win the Cage Warriors belt and you get signed for the UFC, they're going to sign you on their minimum rate. Like, that's not my words. That's from Paddy Pimlet's mouth. So you're there and you're like, so hang about now. If I'm going to sell thousands and thousands of tickets, going to be a massive name, have hundreds of thousands of Instagram followers, they're still going to pay you the minimum. Again, like, that's not really, like, I'd say I don't really think that way in terms of my own goals, because my own goals are only related to skill. I don't really care about, I say I don't care. I obviously care what people think, because when people support me, like, it means a hell of a lot. It's very nice. But I don't care in the sense of I'm not going to value myself based on what other people think. I just want to fight. And if I know my skill level is elite, then that's fine. So yeah, I can't really say the goals changed. I never really had a goal. It's just the one goal that there was to keep improving my skill level is exactly the same. And then, yeah, when I think about the rest of it, that's all of that.
Perfect. Finally then, Ben, obviously this Saturday, huge fight night for you, huge fight night for Wales. I mean, Christ, some of the names on that card. What can fight fans expect from you and Nate Kelly when he's meet each other in that cage?
I see it being relatively similar to the Nick Bagley fight, if I'm honest. There's not a lot of, like, same thing. Neither of them has a lot of subtlety in their style. I know I have no subtlety in my style whatsoever. It's like, yeah, I'm coming forward. I'm either going to be looking to pressure you standing or pressure you wrestling, but either way, I'm pressuring you. He's the same way. So one of us is going to back up. And I think that person is going to be the one that's losing, or we're going to meet head on and one of us will be forced to back up. But yeah, I think I'll back him up, cut him to ribbons. And then if I finish him standing or finishing him on the ground, is either or.
Perfect. Ben, thank you very much for your time again, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you.